a man who is always declaring how he is Sabarwanyi. He's Sabarwanyi. Sabarwanyi. So when he sees the members, when he sees the guns, when he is speaking through his son. Have you been seeing what the son is tweeting? I'm angry. I'm angry, and my anger should be accepted. I called upon him, Lord, remember mercy, remember us, and what you do. Reveal your power, your strength, and your control. Show these devil wicked people who want to kill us that they are not in control.
Show these devil wicked people who want to kill us that they're not in control. She's referring to Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Devil wicked person. I mean, how do you endorse goons to go and beat up innocent civilians, to brutalize journalists, and then to gaslight them in the end? Not even, no remorse, no apology, no nothing.
All these guns, all these machines, what are these big vehicles they had last night? All these members, all these fighting terrorism, counter-terrorism. Why is he fighting Ugandans? He went to the bush to fight for freedom and liberation of Ugandans. Why is he fighting Ugandans? It is not judiciary.
Yep.
This country is not under judiciary.
The Supreme Court stood its ground and gave its ruling, and it was clear. But we'll come back to that.
Look here, Solomon. Don't counteract what I'm saying, because I know what I'm saying.
You're watching Mordecai Marissa Political Commentary. Please consider subscribing to help grow Uganda's Voices of Struggle ecosystem.
Very glad to be here on Mordecai Marissa TV.
And yes, indeed, coming to you live from these United States of America. My name is Mordecai Marissa, and I hope you're having a great time. Oh yeah. If everything is good for you, I celebrate with you and ask you to share with other people. And if you're having a great, going through hard times, I send my best wishes to you, and I hope everything will be all right. Reminds me of the three little birds of Bob Marley. So don't worry, every little thing is gonna be all right. Anyways, good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are watching me from. Well, do not tune out. This one is going to be in that. It's going to be conducted in English. So please do not run away. I know I have a bunch of people who will be, okay, now that you're trying to speak English, I won't stay. Please stay. Miria Matembe in an explosive interview with Solomon Sserwanja on the hard questions. He called out Mr. Museveni, her friend. She used to serve in his cabinet as Minister of Ethics and Integrity. This is a wonderful interview. One of those ones I usually say it's a chef's kiss. Let's jump right in and watch Miria Matembe calling out Mr. Museveni's lies and hypocrisy. Watch.
Hello and welcome to the Hard Questions. I'm Solomon Sserwanja. As Uganda prepares to shape its democracy through an election.
Okay, this is... Ugandans have some sort of talking points. They usually use these talking points. As Ugandans try to shape its democracy, there's nothing like democracy in Uganda. It is so funny that we continue using these talking points that we always pick from different countries or different political conversations. There's no democracy in Uganda. The right thing to say here is Uganda. How do we get ourselves out of a regime, that we're entrenched in? Either Solomon Sserwanja is using this as a talking point, or as what does he say? Let's go back and listen to what he says.
As Uganda prepares to shape its democracy through an
As Uganda prepares to shape its democracy through what? Through an election?
Election.
No. There's nothing like democracy in Uganda. There is what we call dictatorship. And let me show you this. We have a dictatorship. It's a regime. It's a journey to complete tyranny. When you say, as Uganda shapes its democracy, where's the democracy? I mean, you know what makes a democracy. This is what makes it dictatorship. And I'll read you characteristics of dictatorship. 1, centralized power. Power is held by individual or a small group, leading to decisions made without democratic processes or input from broader society. You've seen what has, for example, in Toji Kwatako, many Ugandans said, no, do not amend the constitution. And Museveni, using his group of henchmen, ordered the raiding of the parliament, beating up of members of parliament. And you know what happened? And then 2, suppression of opposition. You saw what happened in Kawempe. But that was just a drop in the ocean. You are familiar with how our politics is managed by Museveni. And what do they explain? What do they say here? Through censorship, imprisonment, or even violence, dictatorship silence any form of criticism or opposition to maintain control. Hello, are you learning from Jupiter, my brother? Solomon Sserwanja, I have immense respect for you. You know that. So I'm trying to tell you this so that you fix that introduction. Then another one, control over media. Up to now, Pal FM was, switched off. We've seen how many radio stations that have been raided by the regime of Mr. Museveni. Many politicians saw from addressing people on different media houses. Limited political freedoms. And the other one is ruled by decree. So when you say shaping our democracy, which democracy are you referring to? It's like having some sort of a funny interview where you be like, you're going to be interviewing a penniless man, has nothing, has no money, not even a single penny, and be like, okay, we're going to be interviewing this gentleman and ask him how he saves his money. He doesn't have not even a penny in the first place. Then what are you trying to say? We do not have the democracy you're trying to tell us how to save our democracy for the next election. Either you're afraid to say what's going on in Uganda, or you're using your talking point. Oh, we're shaping democracy. It's not a democracy.
We cast a spotlight in what is likely to look like, especially following the Kawempe by-election.
That's not a democracy.
The militarization of our politics.
In a democracy, politics is not militarized. This is the contradictions you're having. The oxymorons. You can't say the demilitarization of our politics in a democracy. No. Two things do not make sense.
So this unfolding before our own eyes. Journalists beaten and some battered.
That's a democracy?
While others are broken. Today we weigh in on the state of our democracy.
The state of our it's not a democracy. Today we weigh in the state of our autocracy. You can't continue using this word. I don't know why he continues using this.
Journalists beaten and some battered.
Okay.
While others are broken.
And
today we weigh in on the state of our democracy.
We weigh in on the state of our autocracy, on the state of our dictatorship, on the state of our tyranny, on the state of our oppression. This is not a democracy, my brother Solomon Sserwanja. It is autocracy. You can't say, okay, this man that we're going to be interviewing, he has killed 20 people, raped a few, and he's been caught attempting to kill others. And this gentleman, he's a priest of the word of God. What? The man prides in all these things that he's committed, the crimes, the grave crimes he's committed. And then you'd be like, okay, but tonight, he's a man of God we're going to be interviewing. Two things don't make sense. They don't make up. This is not a democracy.
With someone I call a friend, the Honorable Dr. Miria Matembe joins us back on the show to really share her views. Is this what she really wants for her country? Honorable Miria Matembe, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Solomon, for inviting me yet again to deal with these hard questions. They are really hard. This time, the question is really hard.
The last time I hosted you, it was really a cardio conversation, and I should say one of the most watched episodes on the show. You authored a book, Democracy Betrayed, one of the leading selling books on Amazon and here in Uganda. Let's go back to that book, the Honorable Miria Matembe.
Thank you very much.
What you wrote in that book, do you see it come alive?
Actually, the book is entitled The Struggle.
Solomon read a book. That's the question.
For Freedom and Democracy Betrayed. For me, I want to praise the Lord for the wisdom He gave me. Because what is amazing, I wrote that book and it started selling with that title. I was writing it from my lived experience in this country and the passion of my heart. Then down the road, when it was busy being read, a lady rang me and said, "But Miria, you are really wise." I said, "Why?" He said, "Can you imagine the book you wrote?" I said, "Yes." "Which one?" "You know, I have written a number of them." He said, "The Struggle for Freedom and Democracy Betrayed." I said, "Yes, I know. But did you know?" He said, "Have you ever read the book, the President Museveni's book, The Mustard Seed?" I said, "Yes, I have ever read it." He said, do you know its title?" I said, "Yes, it is The Mustard Seed." He said, "No, when it says the mustard seed, there is hyphen, then it says the struggle for freedom and democracy in Uganda." And yet now my book's title was The Struggle for Freedom and Democracy Betrayed. So my book was, hitting Museveni's book when he said the struggle for freedom and democracy in Uganda after all these years. Because for me, my book is entitled, it was written, we launched it in 2017, something like that. And it was entitled, The Struggle for Freedom and Democracy Betrayed. I didn't know that I was telling President Museveni that, by the way, Your Excellency, that struggle for freedom and democracy, which took us to the bush, and we took over the government of this nation, has been betrayed.
Yep.
I was so happy because I said, "Oh my God, I never knew that title was like..."
I enjoy listening to Miria Matembe because she knows Mr. Museveni. Like, she's a friend. She served in the cabinet of Mr. Museveni. And she part ways with him on principle. It's not personal.
That, but from my experience, from what was happening in Uganda, I was telling His Excellency that, by the way, sir, that struggle for freedom and democracy, which we fought for, has been betrayed. And as towards the end of that book, I wish you told me you are going to ask me about it. I would have come with it and read for you the conclusion of my book.
We can actually read the conclusion she's referring to here. I think at the conclusion, it's right here, conclusion. And I've always told people that for me, okay, well, I think the point she's trying to make, I watched this one.
The statement where I said, now, whatever has been going on, that has been small. But you are yet to see brutality at work. I said that.
Well, to quote her verbatim, this is what she said. As things stand now, this is page 248. As things stand now, the situation is likely to get worse because President Museveni has shed off all pretense of niceties and it's now brute force at work. At the height of the removal of the age limit debate, dubbed Tojikwatako, the opposition members of parliament put up a spirited fight in parliament to defend the sanctity of the constitution. The regime was not having any of it, and on the 27th September 2017, a gang believed to be members of the elite presidential guard evaded the house and beat up members of parliament, leaving some of them hospitalized and others, like Honorable Betty Namboze, with permanent disabilities. Unfortunately, Museveni eventually got his way and the age limit was scrapped by the parliament. Clearly, this is an urgent need for for transformative leadership in Uganda from the current. So she predicted that, it was going to get worse. And this is what we see. She predicted it because she knows him.
There's no more shame.
There's no more shame.
You are going to see brutality at work. And that is now like how many years? 60, is it again 4 years since that book was 6? I said that before the elections of 2016, we are going 2016. I said that before the election of 2016. I was saying no more shame, it will be brutality at work. And it had started by then. But now you can see. Recently I said, wait a minute, I didn't know that I was a prophet. Because I declare things.
Yes, you are clairvoyant.
And they happen. You can
Psychic.
imagine the shameless brutality that took place in Kawempe. You can imagine that shameless brutality. And I want to tell you, for this whole week, I have been at my altar, calling upon the Lord, telling him we know that he's supreme, he's in control, he's in charge, reminding him that this nation was founded on God because the motto is for God and my country. Our national anthem, we hand over Uganda into God's hands. I called upon him, Lord, remember mercy, remember us, and what you do. Reveal your power, your strength, and your control. Show these devil wicked people who want to kill us that they are not in control.
Show these devil wicked people who want to kill us that they're not in control. She's referring to Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Devil wicked person. I mean, how do you endorse goons to go and beat up innocent civilians, to brutalize journalists, and then to gaslight them in the end? No remorse, no apology, no nothing. Well, that's Musevenism for you.
And I'm telling you, last night, when I saw that God heard my prayer, not only my prayer, but the prayers of all those who love the Lord, he revealed himself. He demonstrated his supremacy and his superiority over all these people with guns and whatever. He prevailed over them and showed them, look here, it is not by power, by your theoretical power, by your gun power, by your might, but it is by my power, me God, the creator of heaven and earth. And I want to tell you, I was so happy that this morning the Lord led me to that scripture, Psalms 25. You can read from verse 1, but the 3 says, you can never put shame, God, those who trust in you. But those you will put to shame, those who are treacherous without cause. I am telling you, the word of God was at work. God last night put to shame those who are treacherous without cause.
She reminds me of beautiful words of, I'll read you these words, truth on the scaffold. I don't know whether you know about this quote, but I really, really like it. Makes a lot of sense for me from James Russell Lowell in his poem, The Perfect Crisis. It says, let's go here. Okay, I'll just go right here and I'll read you a few lines here. Okay, right there. It says, truth forever on the scaffold. Let's go. Let me tap on this one. Yep. Let's read it together. It says, truth forever on the scaffold, wrong forever on the throne. Yet that scaffold sways the future, and behind the dim unknown stands God within the shadow, keeping watch above his own. That truth forever is on the scaffold, wrong forever on the throne. The wrong usually wants to be on the throne. It puts itself on the throne. But it is the scaffold that sways the future. And the reason why James Russell says these words, because behind the dim unknown stands God within the shadow, keeping watch above his own. I love that quote. It's one of my best. I love it.
We won. And let me tell you, the Ugandans listening to me should say this is the beginning. The other day when I was in NBS and we saw this, they call them JAT, what do they call them?
Yeah, Jack.
The terrorism fighters and all those who came and took over the scene on nomination and wanted to kill people. I told people, look here, this is a precursor to 2026. And I want now to repeat it. Indeed, it is a precursor to 2026 in terms of the fact that they put there the machines, their guns and their power, and the Lord, God of heaven and earth, crushed them.
Isn't it funny that Museveni, with all his money he had, the thugs and goons he hired, the joint security forces he deployed, the beating of journalists, the confiscating and damaging of equipment of journalists, the brutalizing of them, the assaulting, the fear, the environment that he created, he ended up losing. And this, because you cannot imagine how much taxpayers' money was spent just in one constituency's by-election, Kawempe. But in the end, what was that for? He ends up losing abysmally.
And we defeated them. I'm not saying we defeated them as a noob or as opposition,
Yeah, exactly.
but we defeated them as the children of God who prayed to God because we have suffered enough of what is happening in this land.
When she says we defeated them, it doesn't necessarily mean winning an election, but exposing the decadence of the regime of Mr. Museveni, exposing the charlatanic means by which Museveni keeps his grip on power. It is continuation of expressing, people knowing, even those that probably had some sort of love, who were sort of thinking of giving him a second chance, were able to be like, how do you now brutalize journalists for just holding their cameras? Why would you do that? So the devil ends up losing in ways he didn't anticipate.
People, God has put them to shame.
Dr. Matembe, when you were in the struggle,
she's still in the struggle,
and the people you were with while in the struggle, you were really interested to return democracy to this land. And part of democracy is choosing our leaders through an election. An electoral system was set up, multi-party dispensation was born. We went to the ballot to select our leaders at the time. Years later, the very things that you fought for are the same things that are now in question.
Now you realize why you shouldn't call Uganda a democracy? Because things that we are fighting against that send Museveni, because you and I can agree that the regimes of Obote and Tito Okello Lutwa were not democracies. We were fighting the tyranny, the dictatorship of Obote and Tito Okello Lutwa and the likes of Amin. Now, if Museveni does what Amin and Obote were doing, we cannot continue using the word democracy referring to Uganda. Get the language right, brother.
Fighting for a true and fair election. We are going to elections. The Kawempe by-elections were really militarized.
Brutal. It was brutal to work, which I put in my book.
Yeah, but what explains this?
But Solomon, you know very, very, very well.
She's disappointed.
When we came all the way from the bush, I want to say clearly here, in the first Museveni government, which came with this mantle of wanting to institute democracy in this country, I want to say that indeed we instituted democracy. And by the way, we were holding elections within the movement system, within the movement system. Yes, true, we were not in multi-party political dispensation, but democracy does not necessarily mean multi-party. Democracy means freedom of the people to express themselves, to have different views as they can have them, and to be peaceful, and to decide who should rule them, who should lead them, as the Constitution says. I want to say that for the first, 20 years, in my view, for the first 20 years, 1980, is it 86 to 2006. I know by 2017 and by 1997, 1998, going into 01, you know, things were not so nice.
Museveni was starting to launch his rule for life tactics. That's when Besigye was able to write the dossier he wrote at that time, giving reasons as why he believed that the movement had veered off from the main course that had took it to the bush.
Not so going well, because what we had considered a movement system where everybody was saying what they want, there was freedom, free elections, we were getting into power, we were serving people, but we were going down the road wrongly instead of going up in implementing democratic governance. Because what was one movement where all of us were moving together was dwindling into a one-party state, silencing people, shutting people down. And that is when in 2001, as you remember, we went to election still in the movement, and that's when the dwindling which I was talking about was shown at play. You remember when the reform agenda with Besigye, but we are still in the one movement system, how now the guns went to the street. That was the beginning of deterioration of our democracy. And now the climax of the end of our democracy came in 2003 when the President Museveni moved his motion to remove the presidential term limit.
That was it, because he bribed members of parliament with only 5 million shillings. And a man who had said at the beginning of his tenure, when he toppled the government of Tito Okello Lutwa, that the problem of Africa were leaders who overstayed in power. He had promised that he had brought fundamental change. It wasn't a mere change of guards. And around the 90s, I think it was Bill Clinton who referred to Museveni and the likes of Kagame and other African leaders as a breed of new African leaders that had foreseen better futures for their country, that were not hell-bent on keeping power. It only turned out that they had probably played on his mind. But when Museveni went on to now bribe folks to remove the term limits, it stamped, it manifested the true meaning of dictatorship. That's what they do.
And you remember, that's when I parted company with him as a person who had made the constitution of Uganda, who had known what it is that kills democracy in Uganda, when everybody and the villagers, everybody had known that what kills democratic governance and prevents it in this country are leaders who don't want to leave power peacefully.
Absolutely.
Clearly, they said that. And when
he actually
we said
that.
it, that's when we put on the presidential term limit. So in 2003, when I was defeated, I said as a voice of the people of Uganda, as one who was one of the 21-member commission that gathered all their views and their hearts and their minds about leadership of democracy. They never wanted to have a president who doesn't want to leave power peacefully. And that's why they said we put presidential term limit. And I was defeated together with my friends. The other day I saw them celebrating Honorable Kategaya. God rest his soul in peace. Honorable Kategaya had wanted the end of President Museveni as a president.
And you realize that, you know, there were a few folks that would speak to Museveni. Most of the rest, actually, if not all of them, who are still working with him, they caved. They're afraid. They serve his interests. Because now, to them, they realize that probably they will never become president. But in order to stay in the comfort of their homes, continue building more empires of wealth, Museveni can stay in power It doesn't matter how long.
2006.
So when you see them celebrating Kategaya, it's not that they love him. It's just hypocrites who are trying to have an event, again, to spend money and do some camaraderie, feeling that adjective.
And he was one of the right hand, I think, of Museveni in the struggle for freedom and democracy betrayed. They were there celebrating him. What were they celebrating when he told them, leave the term? It
was just a social event.
It, and they removed it. And from that time, I am telling you, talk of democracy in Uganda, because we went back into the people, the president, who doesn't want to leave power peacefully. So don't ask me what killed democracy. I mean, let me tell Ugandans who were not there. When we took over this nation as a movement, President Museveni used to clearly say, democracy is not in a form. Stop telling us that there are elections. Stop telling us that there are parties. Democracy is not in a form. Democracy is in substance. And we all run with him. Yes, the man is speaking. Democracy in substance is not in a form, because we had seen UPC and DP here. We had seen no democracy. And so we said, yes, this man has the wisdom, has what it takes to this lead Uganda transition into real democratic governance. Now, this is the very man now. This is the very man now who will tell you that yes, there is democracy. There are elections every year. What sort of elections are they? What sort of elections are they? In fact, they started in 2001.
That's a good question. Because the talking points of the NRM, when you see these folks who are hosted on radio and TV, they talk about the election. They do not discuss the substance. What kind of elections do we usually hold? But they want to use that as a talking point to say, oh, we've been in power and we've been organizing elections. But an election that has been built on a foundation of killing, brutalizing and torturing of innocent people, it's not an election. It is just a veneer, a facade of an election.
You go and ask the reform agenda people. In fact, the reform agenda are the people who translated into FDC. And you know how FDC at the beginning was actually defeating. And me personally, I went to President Museveni when we parted the company, and he called me, and before actual elections of before removing the term limit. I think it was after removing the term limit. He called me to go and join the movement. I told him the movement is not there anymore. The movement is not there anymore. We have gone into multi-party political system. And I said, I want to ask you one thing. And I want to tell Ugandans listening to me, I'm happy that you are calling me senior citizen who is talking about things people did not know.
And you know him.
Because when we were even in CA, even when we were, you know, in CA, we held onto the political parties. We said, hold on, they will come later. But we were saying that good multi-party political systems will be born. Good parties will be born out of the movement political system. And I told President Museveni, we have been saying that good parties will be born out of the movement political system. Now, out of this movement political system, we have got now the movement political party and the Forum for Democratic Change. Because the formers of the movement political party were from the movement. The founders of Forum for Democratic Government was from the movement. Yeah. I told President Museveni, I'm asking you for one thing. God has given us what we've been praying. 2 parties have been born out of the movement. Now, let these children parties be nurtured. I asked him personally, even if you ask him, I said, I'm pleading to you. Me, I have parted with you, but I'm pleading to you. Please don't fight the FDC. These are the children of the movement. I even asked him, could you fight if you want Muhozi is your heir to your estate? Can you fight him when he's supposed to be the heir to your estate? So I said, now, Why should you fight Mugisha Muntu? Why should you fight Besigye? Why should you fight the Kazoras? These are the children of the movement who have enabled us to birth two parties which are going to be good. I said, I know your movement is very popular. You'll get the majority, but the FDC may get 30% or 20%, but you will be remembered as one great man who has led to the formation of a good multi-party political system in this country. And this man assured me that he's not going to fight the FDC.
Oh my God.
Just down the road, the first fight he put on was to arrest Besigye on films charges of raping a girl, and that was the beginning of going down of multi-party, of political democratic governance in Uganda.
Exactly. Now you realize that Museveni is a liar. These are people that he started the movement with. They're having a conversation. They're saying that, you've been talking about freedoms. And as a result of what we brought, or when we came to power, we've been able to give birth to a political party. Would you please let it, express itself? Let us see what we've given birth to. Let us see it grow. Museveni, okay, I will do that. 2, in a blink of an eye, is opening up trumped-up charges against Besigye.
It is not in a form, it is in substance. And it has failed. And President Museveni...
Yeah, I like that one. It's not in form, it is in substance. It is not about how many elections you organize. It is in what nature, what type, what kind of elections are you organizing?
What do you call when you spit on your words? What do they call it? He has eaten, he has swallowed his words. When I see him saying, yes, the elections we have won, which elections has he won? Did he go to the bush to fight in elections? I want to ask, I always ask President Museveni, thank you for helping me to ask him, all these guns, all these machines, what are these big vehicles they had last night? All these mambas, all this fighting terrorism, counter-terrorism, why is he fighting Ugandans? He went to the bush to fight for freedom and liberation of Ugandans. Why is he fighting Ugandans?
I tell you why, and I'm sure she knows.
That's why
I can't pose her like that, He's fighting Ugandans because he's hell-bent on keeping power. Dominating others, just like Sam Mugumya tells us, became his way of life. He cannot imagine himself out of power and another person is offering direction to the country. He thinks that the buck stops at him. He considers himself to be the only special guy. And he said it over and over again a number of times where he says, you guys, you're telling me to leave power, but I look at the options that you have and I'm like, how can I die and leave this country? How can I leave this country in the hands of these people who cannot do the job I'm doing? I mean, he considers himself as the only special guy who can offer leadership for a country. So that's why he does all these things that he does.
Call upon the Lord to fight him to save Ugandans in this land. That's my call.
Listen to that one. Listen to that.
President Museveni, thank you for helping me to ask him. All these guns, all these machines, what are these big vehicles they had last night? All these mambas, all these fighting terrorism, counter-terrorism. Why is he fighting Ugandans? He went to the bush to fight for freedom and liberation of Ugandans. Why is he fighting Ugandans? That's why I call upon the Lord to fight him to save Ugandans in this land.
She's not happy.
My call. That's my call. You asked for a call. That's what I'm calling.
Wow.
Honorable Matembe, you stayed with this man for quite a while. How do you think Museveni looks at the pictures on TV that we saw of people?
Yeah. I love this question from Solomon Sserwanja. You'd wonder what goes through his mind when he sees journalists being beaten, people who have been tortured, others have been, abducted. And what really breaks my heart is the Church of Uganda that usually praises him. Oh, he gave us peace and freedom. I don't understand what they mean by those words. I don't even know whether they truly understand what that means, because just like Martin Luther King Jr. told us, peace is not the absence of conflict. No, it is the presence of justice. So we've not seen people receive justice, especially these that have been taken advantage of, whose evil has been perpetrated by folks who serve Mr. Museveni. So this question is very nice. He's asking, what do you think goes through the mind of Mr. Museveni when he sees all these things, this evil, mayhem, and chaos being committed by his own men? And listen to the answer she's going to say.
In masks,
He's very happy.
beating people. What do you think goes through his mind? Is he angry at what he's seeing?
No!
Is he saying, why are these people beating
Let me tell you, when I met Museveni, he was like, and by the way, I told him personally when he was calling me back, I said, sir, when I met you, you are like this, the face of my thumb. Now you are like the back of my thumb. Ooh. Now which person am I joining? Which person am I following? I said, when I followed you, you are going in a straight path. But now you have jumped again to the bush where I don't know where you are going. Whom am I following? I said it to him, even if you ask him. And then he said, anyway, we had a big chat and so on. But what I want to tell you is this. A man who is always declaring how he is Sabarwanyi. Mm-hmm. He's Sabarwanyi. Mm-hmm. Sabarwanyi. So when he sees the members, mm-hmm. when he sees the guns, when he's speaking through his son. Have you been seeing what the son is tweeting? I'm angry. And my anger should be accepted. I'm angry on behalf of God who rules this nation. Mm-hmm. I'm angry.
Mm-hmm. So you think the president is happy when people are beaten?
Extremely happy. Who sends them? I mean, who sends Nabanja? Who sends Baramu? Who sends all these people? Didn't you see them?
You know, that's a question. Usually people want to present Museveni as someone, oh, he's a father, he really has the concerns of Ugandans. No. This has become a pattern of killing, of torturing, of abducting Ugandans. He's very happy. If Museveni wasn't happy about this evil being perpetrated by his own men, we would see them being held accountable in court-martial or in the courts of law. But no. He's very happy. He endorses and encourages them to do this.
Nabanja gamba, nze kamara byona, kakata amazechi. I'm glad the precious, those who do precious without cause. What do you mean? He's the man in charge.
Yep.
The judicial system is killed. Do you know who rules the judiciary? Do you know who rules the judiciary? Attorney General. What is his name? Chiria what?
Chiria what?
Chiria Chiwanuka. Let me tell Ugandans who don't know. She's the one who rules the judiciary.
Yep.
It is not that man.
Yep.
Onyidoro is just a figurehead.
Yeah. I love this. He's just a figurehead. And so is the Nabanja. The Prime Minister and the Vice President of Uganda is Caleb Akandwanaho, who resides in Gulu, commonly known as Salim Saleh. The rest are figureheads. That's why I usually tell you that it is very funny that you find the Minister of Education and Sports, Janet Kataha Museveni, summoning the Vice President and the Prime Minister, and they all come rushing like kids who are running for candy. When she doesn't want to attend a certain event where she's been invited, she's like, Nabanja, go represent me. Oh, yes, mama. Jessica Lupo, come here. Yes, mama. These are just figureheads. They mean nothing.
It is Chirio who decides who should be appointed as judges, who decides how judgments should go when the Law Society, when they take cases to these judges. They identify the judges who are meant to dismiss them, and when they do that, they are promoted. Let me tell you, there is this judge who has now gone to the Court of Appeal. There is this judge who is now going to be the chair of Judicial Service Commission. I've forgotten their names, but those Attorney General. Let me tell you, all the judges, the district lawyers, because of the protection of their jobs, they have all bowed.
Yep.
Caving.
He's the ruler. He's the ruler. With the leader of the judiciary in this country is the Owinyidolo.
What did Museveni say when the judiciary decided that the military court is not...
Ignored them.
Is not a court. What did President Museveni say? It is not judiciary.
Yep.
This country is not under judiciary.
The Supreme Court stood its ground and gave its ruling, and it was clear. But we'll come back to that.
Look here, Solomon. Don't counteract what I'm saying, because I know what I'm saying. Because now you are saying, how long did it take?
Oh, Solomon is trying to play the sort of journalistic devil's advocate. Oh, we have the Supreme Court. We have the what's his name? The Chief Justice Owinyidolo is like, please do not.
How long did it take to secure a refugee, at least to go in the right court? And even when he's in the right court, what is going on? What is the charge? Why don't they bring him and he answers the charge? Has he yet pleaded? I want to ask you. Has he yet pleaded? They haven't taken him to the court where he should plead. Now you are saying what? The son is swearing and Museveni's commitment, they are still running. They only did one thing, get him from that military whatever what you call it, and take him to an ordinary court. But have you had the SJ plead? I mean, have they charged him and he pleaded before the right court to prosecute him? Has it? He's there rotting there in prison.
Hey.
And you talk to me of judiciary. I have told you, don't silence me. I want Ugandans to hear that the law society...
Do not silence me. Hey. Please make sure that you go and watch the entire thing on their page. And that is, what's it called? The IAIJ, the hard questions. We're almost clocking an hour. Come on, let's stop there. What an amazing conversation right here. What an amazing conversation. Please head over to their YouTube channel and watch the entire conversation. It is just amazing. I love this lady. And please, if you can, go on and buy yourself a copy of her book in Uganda. She tells a story that you want to know. If you really want to understand Yoweri Museveni, you have to read this story. I do not understand how people would read things like this and still support Museveni. But hey, money talks, and that's the language they speak. So who am I to judge them? Hey, what an amazing conversation. But hey, before I leave this place, I would like to remind you that the Boston Convention is going to be happening this year from the 7th of August to 10th, 2025, and entrance is only, convention registration, which would be entrance if you're paying at the conference. It's only $300, and if you want to enjoy or have fun on the boat cruise, it's going to be only $220. It's going to be in Boston. There's a bunch of Ugandans in Boston, USA. So please, if you want to be part of this convention, the National Unity Platform Convention, please make sure that you pay. You can go on the website, just type in Boston Convention 2025, and you can follow prompts, and you'll be able to pay only $300. And guess who is going to be there? The president himself, Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, is going to be attending this as the chief guest, of course, this convention. Then Alex Wise from Mufumbiro, David Louis Luwongoya, Joel Senyonyi, to mention but a few. So please make sure that you do go pay and wait for that day to come. Akalango ndoza nkaisizaawo. Ne wano wakyaliwo Oluganda. Wale yagamba mulisa kati nzongobye bw'otandisa oluzungu mwana ongobye. Beerawo ssebo, tujja kulwogera, tujja kulukaka. School fees inaina tumumaleyo nga twogera Olungereza. My name is Mordecai Murisa. I wish you a wonderful time until we catch up again. Bye-bye.
Did you enjoy what you just watched? I'm going to guess that you did. How about you consider subscribing to Mordecai Marissa YouTube channel? Thank you.